In a weird sort of way, unfortunately, this primary season served as, a beta test for all of these laws and how they're going to work out in real life.
Molly Broadway is training and technical support specialist for voting rights with advocacy group Disability Rights Texas. She spent years working with local governments and community groups across Texas on disability voting access. In a state with traditionally low voter turnout, she's concerned that potential voters might find the new rules intimidating. Her group runs a voters hotline, and from calls there, she names some of the more confusing issues and ways to improve them.
I think with some of the newest tools and rules that have been implemented, I think there needs to be serious consideration moving forward into making the carrier envelopes for your ballot by mail more accessible. They, maybe needs to be better direction given on where specifically to provide your signature and identification numbers on the envelope. I think the ballot tracking system should be evaluated to see if any fine-tuning is needed. Also to see if that website itself is accessible for users of all abilities. The process in itself, I would think, considering the time-sensitive demands that are required, or the time-sensitive requirements, I would hope that maybe some of this information can be more quickly processed by the state, and then sent to the counties, or if the counties can receive the information at the same time the Secretary of State's offices. That way, things can be a bit more streamlined. I will say there's been a lot of confusion about the curbside voting issue. I think people got, like I said before, they were getting it confused with drive-through voting, and that it's not the same thing, and that curbside voting is still an option at every polling site. And that I've heard from callers who've talked amongst their voting friends that with all the new regulations in place, especially regarding assistance for in-person voting, or even if you're choosing to vote by mail, it is deterring a lot of people from voting. It sounds like, people feel like there's a lot more rules in place, a lot more deterrents in place to keep them from voting, and it is keeping them from showing up.
Under the deadlines, the curing process to correct the thousands of rejected ballots was nerve-wracking for voters and officials alike.
I kind of learned through this process also that once you try to fix your application or your ballot through the ballot tracking system, it first goes through the Secretary of State's office, and then that information is directed to the appropriate county that you are registered to vote in. So that's another time, unplanned time allotment that we did not take into account. But I thought that was an interesting addition, as opposed to going directly to the county. It first needed to go through the Secretary of State's office and be processed, and then go to the county after that. So I think, pretty stressful for everybody involved, the voters, the county election staff, stressful overall. I got a call from someone whose application was declined, and she had received the notice the day before the deadline. So essentially, she would need to fill out a completely new application and deliver it in person to the elections office in her county. So basically drop everything, try to get time off work to go do this. And then make sure that for whatever reason her application had been denied, she was going to fill out the form correctly. Plus, the caller was blind. That was a little stressful for the voter. Luckily for her, she was able to fix the application on the ballot tracking system provided by the state and the county. So that was great, but then logging on to the ballot tracking system itself was a whole other hurdle. Logging on to the ballot tracking system is not consistent in the fact that you can fill out all the required information, and sometimes it will let you in, and sometimes it won't. It will not find your information, and you won't be allowed access to fix your application or your ballot. Later, actually, that same voter got her she submitted her application, got her ballot in the mail, and submitted it back to the county, and then received notice that her ballot by mail had been rejected.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so it was a big blow. She's like, you gotta be kidding me, man. She learned that she did not put the requested identification numbers underneath the flap of the carrier envelope that the ballot comes in. And that was a bit of an issue. But she's like, well, really? And I wasn't exactly sure where it was because I can't see it. So when we left things, we were under the we were under the impression that it was, everything was good to go, and that she had successfully fixed her ballot and had done everything she needed to do. Not everybody has that kind of time, or access to the internet to be able to do all of that. She's like, I have voted by mail in the past, and it has never been this big of an issue. I've never had this many issues. My application previously has never been rejected, and my ballots have never been declined.
And it also required some intervention from you, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely some third-party assistance that was needed.
The Disability Rights Texas voting hotline is 888-796-8683. That's 888-796-8683.
We also have an email address, if that works better for some folks. That email address is vote, VOTE, @BRTX.org.
This is KPFT People's News.